Hey guys, my name is Holly and this is Sabrina, and we are here today to talk to you about geology. We're going to actually talk about what geology is. We're going to show you some things that we brought about geology, and then we're also going to talk about what on earth does a geologist do. So we're going to break down the word to begin with, which is geo, which in Greek is the Greek for earth, and then ology is the study of. So that is what geology is. It's the study of the earth. It's also the study of the materials from which it's made, the structure of those materials, and the processes acting upon them. And this includes how all of these things have changed over time. So what do you think of when you hear the word geology? More than likely you think of just rocks or anything that is in the earth, like the layers of the earth, that kind of thing. But it actually goes into so much more. One of the things that I thought about was like The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, but that's not what we're talking about today. So we are going to talk about how we actually use things that are from the earth or that were made with things from the earth in our everyday lives. So literally, you cannot throw a rock without hitting another rock. I mean, if it hits the floor, or you can hit, don't hit windows, glass, that's bad, but that's actually another rock. And if you hit your friend, it still counts because it hit the floor too. Don't hit your friends with rocks. But what we're going to do is talk about some of the things that you use every day. So hopefully every day you brush your teeth. And that toothpaste is made from rocks, or types of rocks. We have all kinds of rocks around us. If you think about Mount Rushmore and the faces of the presidents that were carved into the rock, but we've also got like mirrors and windows. And then there's just tons of things that you can actually use. So anything that, like with structures, your house, anything that you use as far as tools, all of those things are used from some type of rock. So what we're going to do today is actually start out with a pencil and see how much of this pencil is actually made from things that were pulled out of the earth or made with things that were pulled from the earth. So we're going to start with graphite and clay. A lot of people say the lead in the pencil, but it's actually not the lead. It's actually graphite and clay that's pulled from, we have graphite right here. And so that graphite is ground into a powder, mixed with the clay, and actually melted into this liquid form, and then squeezed through this tube. So that's one part of the things that was taken from the earth. The other part is the eraser here. So I don't know if you've ever tried to do your math homework with a pen. It's very difficult. It doesn't work very well. An eraser really comes in handy. The eraser is actually made from the pumice, and it's actually pumice mixed with synthetic rubber, which is, the synthetic rubber is a petroleum byproduct of oil and petroleum. All of that came from the earth. And then also the pigments were actually minerals that were pulled from the earth. So then that's pumice. And so the next thing we have is the ferrule, which is actually an aluminum sleeve that holds that eraser onto the pencil. So that's obviously a metal that came from the earth. And then we have the actual wood part of the pencil. And you may think, well, that's not anything like a rock or anything that was mined. It was from a tree that grew out of the earth. But it still counts because they had to use tools to cut that down, and also to manufacture it, to ship it. All of those tools and even the fuels that were used to bring it to us are actually mined from the earth. So every part of this pencil is made possible from things that were found in the earth or made with things that were found in the earth. So it's just really important. We use it in everyday life. Like I said, toothpaste is really important. But if it wasn't, one of the things that geologists talk about is if it can't be grown, it must be mined. You cannot escape geology. So the average American makes use of 17,200 kilograms of mined resources every year. And that doesn't even include the energy resources like gas and coal. That's just one person, 17,200 kilograms. And so those are things like stone, sand, limestone, iron, aluminum. We've got like some nails here made from different types of metals. All of those things, and way more than that, are things from the earth. So we're going to talk about what a geologist does. So one of the things that the geologist does is obviously to study those things from the earth, study the earth, but not just that. They study the processes such as landslides and earthquakes and floods and volcanoes. They also study the earth's materials like oil, metals, water drawn from underground streams. They locate rocks and study the ways that we use them and how we can actually change the way that they're shaped to be able to use them to help us. And then they also, they're like rock detectives. They can actually find the rocks and then use that information to date things. So they can tell the story of ancient cultures from just like even with the fossils, which we can actually show you the fossil. It's actually a seashell. Oh, it's what? Oh, it's in this one, sorry. I'm gonna let you take that and show them. That's our seashell that you can see inside the rock, and we got that just from around here. But the most important thing, in my opinion, that they do for us is they protect us. They help protect us, and you think, what? That's weird. But think about just like policemen and a lot of the healthcare workers and stuff like that. They actually protect us. But the way that geologists protect us is by they learn about these things like volcanoes and floods and earthquakes, and they can help us by telling us, okay, this is a flood zone. Don't build your house here because if it floods, it's going to completely ruin it. So they can actually protect us that way. They also can look at the climate change and how it's always changing, and how we've actually we can have good or bad reactions to the earth and those kinds of things. So we did want to bring a little craft that we can do that has to do with geology this morning, and we can grow our own geode. So a geode is actually when a volcano erupts and the magma actually turns into lava as soon as it comes out of the volcano. It'll harden around it, but sometimes there's bubbles in those things. And so it'll completely harden and have this air bubble stuck in there. And it will start to crystallize and make it would form a geode. So this is my pet geode. Instead of a pet rock, we made a pet geode. So what you'll actually do to make this is you can actually take an eggshell and make sure you clean it out really well. Make sure you even get the membrane out because you don't want any gross things growing in your geode. You just want crystals. So what you can actually do after that is take glue and Epsom salt, just plain old Epsom salt, and you'll completely put a film of glue in there, put your Epsom salt in there around that, so it gives your geode something to go ahead. It's kind of like a boost for it to start to grow. So what you'll do is for the rest of this, and to actually make more, especially larger crystals form, is you definitely have to have the help of an adult. But you will take some boiling water, and you only want a little bit because you want to add more salt than water. And once it gets to the saturation point, when you can no longer dissolve that Epsom salt in there, what you'll actually do is, you've done that part, the hard part's over, you'll actually pour it into your egg. And the trick to getting bigger crystals is to let it cool slowly. So you want to keep the heat in as long as possible, and that will help those crystals to form much bigger, and you'll be able to see them better. But you just pour that in there, let the water evaporate, and you will actually form crystals all inside your pet geode. So one of the other things that we didn't talk about is chalk, and the way that we actually use chalk all the time. So we actually brought some chalk, and I'm going to let you write geology rocks on our chalkboard here. Go ahead, you got this. And we're going to talk more about the processes and the types of rocks that make the marks on different types of rocks. So we hope you enjoyed this video, and we will see you next time.